Hi everyone, today is Tuesday, September the 28th, and today I want to share a book review, or rather give my thoughts about one of my favorite financial books. And this is a book that's called A Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, NH. Don't know why he put the NH there. I think it's some legacy thing where he comes from the state of New Hampshire and he had made that the name of his blog, and that was why that I think author name kind of just stuck with him. But anyways, his name is J.L. Collins. Incredible guy, incredible voice, I gotta say, because I actually listened to his audiobook. His voice is just he has a sexy voice, I'll just say it. And his voice does not sound like when I saw him, his voice does not sound like how he looks. For example, like he has a very Saruman-like voice, like deep bass, testosterone heavy voice. Like I imagine somebody who looked like Saruman from Lord of the Rings, and then this guy has like a full head of hair, and he has a very kind face. He does not have that I'm a soprano. I can't do bass voices. Anyways, but he has such a deep bass voice that I imagine like someone with a sterner face and features. But he actually has a very kind and nice and sweet countenance. Anyways, that's about the author, because or more like the author's voice. So I had stumbled upon this book as an audiobook on Audible, and I really enjoyed it and appreciated it because the things that it was. Let's see. First of all, I listened to this book for the first time in the year 2018, and it was like a refresher of my MBA in finance, but only the cool and important parts of my finance MBA that I actually rode into the real world. It was almost like a reminder of those aspects. And I mean, just imagine that, a grad school level education where I won't even go into, because I went to a private college worth how many thousands of US dollars, and 2 years, because I did it quickly, 2 years of time, condensed into one little 4.5 hour long book that is read to you by an incredibly sexy voice. So it's a finance book that I recommend to anyone and everyone, whether you're a finance person or not. I have, when I drive my children around, I have made them listen to that book, or like certain chapters of, and repeated certain chapters, etc., several times, especially since they are my captive audience. So yeah. Bottom line is, I highly, highly recommend this book called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. Now, I will go into sort of my thoughts about the book, what I learned from the book, maybe certain spoilers, etc. But not really. He's just his intention behind the book was to make financial planning and financial independence so accessible to everyone, that in a sense, if I even gave away what he actually, his tips are in the book, he's not the sort of person who will really mind, so to speak. Nevertheless, I mean, listening to him say it, give this advice and talk about this topic is just such a joy in itself that I highly recommend that you actually check out his book. All right, so so some history also. This book was he started his blog because he wanted to basically capture some lessons for his daughter in some sort of format that would remain, and so that's why he made a blog. And then somebody told him, I guess, why don't you condense this blog into a book? And so then that's what he did, and that's how the book came about. Now that book is so easy to read that I began to have my children listen to it. I began to use it for my own daughter, who's now she's 16 now. So that time, 3 years ago. So when she was 13, so 13, when they were 13, 9, and 5. I made them listen to all this stuff, and my youngest, what he got was don't do debt, which is great. Like, if there's one thing you can teach your kid, right? There are many more lessons in there, such as don't spend more than 50% of what you earn. He gives much more, like, sort of what to, because I guess not everybody can live within 50% of their income, but anyways, think of your career as in the most expansive way possible. Another really, really important piece of advice is to have something that he calls FU money, which is like your ticket to independence. It may not be enough for you to just retire and live off of, but it buys you a break. It buys you that separation of time if you're in a situation where your work is sucking your soul and you don't want to be in that space anymore. It gives you that cushion. And I have to say that having that ability, I may have said this in a different video of mine, but I definitely credit my ability to be authentic, to be able to guide my own I say guide my own supervisors, but what I mean is sometimes in a finance role, in a business operations role, you have to advise your boss. You have to present a picture and tell them what might be best given the numbers, given the organizational situation, etc. And a lot of times you find BizOps managers, BizOps directors who just basically, like, they'll be yes men. They'll just say what their boss wants to hear because they're afraid and they don't have much conviction about what to say and what to be and what because they're terrified. They don't want to lose their job. However, I would say that because the things that J.L. Collins says in his book are things that also my finance professor during my MBA, I was very blessed to have some incredible professors who didn't just teach like the formulae, but also went into what to do for real life. I had this great professor, Meir Statman. And his advice was actually pretty similar to J.L. Collins's advice in that book, and as a result, I have always, knock on wood, managed to remain financially independent, and to have that FU money cushion, which has always helped me to stand up for myself and to be able to present the best options that I believe will do the most good to my bosses, to my clients, to my business partners and other departments, etc. Whenever I've even been deploying tools and that sort of work that I used to do in BizOps and in data and in analytics. So FU Money, excellent concept. And the way he presents it too is with really cute anecdotes about like when he was a young man, and things that he went through to really discover that value of FU Money. Okay, then he talks about sort of this idea of not having debt and also not seeing your house as an investment, which I know most people don't look at their house like that, but I think the spirit behind what he's saying is get the house that you can afford and that you need. So get the house that you need, not the max house that you can afford. So let's say your income level and whatever qualifies you for a $1 million house, but you are just fine in a $250K house. Get a $250K house. Don't if you need a $1 million house, but your affordability only affords you a $250K house, go with the $250K house. So in that sense, don't overextend yourself for your house, and don't take on house debt just because, and don't think of your house as something to you only need this, but you want you're like extending yourself to the max. I think that's the most sort of if I may say, the most controversial idea of his is that sort of holy grail of home ownership. So yeah, that's one of his more controversial, interestingly, views that he ended up taking a lot of flack for, interestingly, which I think sometimes when people unnecessarily criticize authors, it's because they are not listening to the spirit behind what an author is talking about, and simply listening to or listening or reading something that it's going on in their own head. And I think that's why I like to listen to the audio versions of books, because when you hear an author say what they're saying, you really kind of you get their spirit, the spirit with which they mean certain things. So that's another really cool concept. So FU Money and home is not an investment. And of course, living within 50% of your income. What else? Oh yeah, okay. So this is another one where, a lot of, again, I don't think people have necessarily criticized him for this, but he has got this question in podcasts and other interviews that people have had with him, which is, so his simple path is, don't bother picking stocks and doing this and that. Just, do Vanguard and do VTSAX, which is the entire stock market, basically. Either VTSAX or VBTLX. Those are his two recommendations. And people ask him, gee, how could you be so specific? And I love his answers because he wrote this for his daughter and no one else. And I just love that. It's like, you know what? Yeah. Because so many people will give these ridiculous caveats, right? This was not financial advice. But it's what I really love about that is, if you are making something for your own child and you're saying, kiddo, I'm a finance person, you have no interest in finance. If you have no interest in finance, if you're not interested in looking at a beta or a technical analysis or doing any fundamental analysis or this and that, you know what? Live off of 50% of your wealth. Put the rest in VTSAX while you're young, and VBTLX when you're older, or like adjust that percentage like as you get older, and just you're set, right? So to just have that that sort of like just simple advice is actually very refreshing. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because even my finance professor back in my MBA days gave me the same advice of being pro Vanguard, and not Fidelity, not any of these other things. And here's why. Actually, this is not an advertisement for Vanguard. I'm not sponsored by Vanguard. I like, seriously. Okay, I am not even like, this is not a monetized video or any of that stuff. Why Vanguard? So when you have like a Vanguard fund, or like when you buy, how do I say this? When you're vested in Vanguard, you are an owner of Vanguard, the company. So say a company like Fidelity. I'm not picking on Fidelity here. Geez, like, don't sue me for slander or whatever. Just example. So when you invest with any non-Vanguard company, that company has to serve you as a customer, but they also have their shareholders or their family that owns that company, etc. And that's why you'll find the cost to be higher. Now, some people may say, oh, some certain brokerage houses have this 0% expense ratio for their funds. Yeah, that's because they're giving you that as an incentive, but they're taking that as a slice off of somewhere else. And Vanguard does not do that because it does not serve them at all. Because when I say serve them, it doesn't serve us at all to impose higher fees on ourselves and then get a tax return in the mail, or a 1099 or whatever, not tax return, get a 1099 in the mail for us to factor into our taxes. Just makes no sense. And that's the reason why Vanguard does not do that. And I appreciate that about Vanguard also. So anyway, so that's this, I don't know at what point in the chapters he gives this great advice, but it's absolutely brilliant. He says, don't marry someone who is fiscally irresponsible or otherwise give them access to your finances. And I think that was just absolutely golden advice. Because, so many times people, like, that is their primary blunder, like getting tangled up with the wrong person. And who just drains them dry. So, or who doesn't have like the same values, and who, and it just causes a lot of unnecessary fights. That's not to say you have to marry a clone of yours, but to the extent that you marry someone who is responsible and partner with someone who is fiscally responsible and on the same page as you, the better off you are. So that's my book review / thoughts on J.L. Collins NH's book, A Simple Path to Wealth. Thank you for listening. Bye.